of you all here at ING. It's really a great night for us. It's a really big pleasure to have Michael here today, and I really want to thank you all for making the time, and hope you can enjoy. I saw his presentation yesterday, and it's amazing. I want to see it again. Thank you, Rowan from Scrum User Group, for organizing that. Thank you very much. Hopefully we're going to continue posting those meetups moving forward. I'm really looking forward to be really in that space. Thank you, Nafis from Agile at Scale. Again, thank you very much for putting this great meetup for all of us. Toilets, we've got one around here. It's literally one, and there's more toilets outside. If you need to go outside, just look for someone with ING badge. They can take you outside, and you can't get up and come back in, I think. Without further ado, I'm probably going to get Rowan or Nafis to say a little bit about the meetups and presentation here, and then hand it over to Rowan. Thank you very much, and enjoy, guys.
Welcome everyone, and with Agile at Scale, the entire idea about having that meetup group is to talk about challenges that we face at a larger scale, culture being one of them. We are so delighted to have Michael talk about Agile organization and the high performance Agile organization today. So can't thank him enough. Thank you ING for hosting us, and thank you also Rowan and Scrum User Group to have this opportunity to have a shared meetup group, so that we can get the best use of Michael's time. So yeah, thank you very much for coming.
So who thinks this is a great venue? I reckon I'm sold already. I walked in here the other day and I thought this is fantastic, and it's just really really great that the community is wanting to host these things. We've got people from the Scrum User Group coming along and saying, hey, I've got a venue back at work, let's have you guys in. So, and great that all of us are here tonight. Look at the turnout. It's fantastic to see. I think this is one of the biggest turnouts for the Sydney Scrum User Group, and yeah, to combine it with the Agile at Scale one, I'm just really delighted that we can do that tonight. So, yeah, you've got something special coming your way this evening. I think it was 2012 when I remember having a conversation with Michael in Atlanta, Georgia. I think it was a shopping mall we were in at the time, and I just started to get really fascinated by organisational culture, and he introduced me to the Schneider model, and I ended up using that for quite a few engagements. One of the first things I did was actually get a survey and sort of understand a bit about what the organisational culture was. And yeah, it turns out, Michael wrote his book, I think, came out that year, 2012, Agile Transformation, a really good one to look up. And yeah, and Michael has been very interested in leadership and in the Agile space, as well as organisational culture. So yeah, we've just had a couple of CAL courses, Certified Agile Leadership courses. Who's heard about that? It's just see if there's awareness that this is something new from the Scrum Alliance last year. And just one thing I will say about it is, I'm a Scrum trainer, so for years and years I have people coming up to me at the end of Scrum training saying, Rowan, I love this stuff, I really want to see this happen at work, but my boss doesn't get it. And my boss's boss just thinks this is something that developers do and has no relevance to management or leadership or anything. And so I just really seen a problem there for years in Australia, and I think it's been in a lot of organisations around the world. So the Scrum Alliance has come out and created this CAL course, and Michael's the one that's done the most of them, I think, globally now, probably 15, 16, something like this. Yeah. So just really happy that we could bring that to Australia. Really very happy that I could help out with that. So yeah, I think without any further ado, I'd like to open it up to Michael Sahota from Canada.
Thank you, everyone. This is my first time here in Australia, so very delighted to be here speaking with all of you. The title here is Delivering a High-Performance Agile Organization. And I'm inviting you to take a look beyond the team. What happens in the organization, what happens with leaders, what happens with culture. And so we're going to take a look into a larger world. So this is about me. My background's in IT. I started as a software developer, accidentally. Have been involved with Agile for about 15 years, so quite a long time. As a better way, it really was just part of my toolkit for how to get things done. And then I really threw myself, mind, body, heart, soul, behind it as how I was approaching the world. And now I've gone saying, oh, it's very beautiful. And we need to look at other things to make it work fully in organization. So it's not us saying goodbye to Agile, it's about looking at a broader context to help Agile flourish. Rowan mentioned my book, An Agile Adoption and Transformation Survival Guide, working with organizational culture. So this was 5 years ago. I started to help the Agile community by creating awareness around culture and around what we're doing with our Agile initiatives. And the intent of this was to prevent us from doing damage, from having misunderstandings about Agile, the Agile mindset would cause challenges. Many senior people, coaches, still read this today and find it very valuable. What I'm going to give you tonight, though, takes us beyond that beautiful foundation and takes us into the last 5 years of consulting with companies, working with companies of all different sizes, talking as a thought leader all over the world, getting feedback from people all over the world for their experiences, and acting as like a focus point for all these Agile experiences around culture, around leadership. So that's what I'm going to give you tonight. So I'll read the title because it's getting cut off here. This is the part where you pull out your phone and you're going to do a poll. The URL is right here, pollev.com/orgs. And I'll read the title question. Our biggest challenges with Agile are. So apologies for this slide being cut off. I'm not sure if it can be adjusted somehow. Our biggest challenges with Agile are. And when someone types a response, other people can upvote their response. We're looking to see what's alive in the room right now around Agile challenges. So if you see someone type in something and it appears in your poll list, you can just click and upvote it. So we're looking to see, to listen here, organizational resistance, beautiful, wonderful. So if you also see organizational resistance, please upvote that. Buy-in, if you see that one, please. Culture not aligned, reporting long-term, please just go in and upvote the ones that are here first, and then if you want to add a new one, add a new one. Wonderful. So I see people are starting to upvote. That's great. We're seeing buy-in, organizational resistance. A lot of organizational resistance up there. So that's going on for you too. Please upvote that so we can see what level of coherence we have in this room. I'm really curious what's happening here in Sydney, Australia in the month of May 2017. What are we experiencing with Agile out there in our organizations? And we'll see if we get the largest one up to a 20, to see if 20 people actually agree. We're at 10, 10, 10, do I hear 11, 11? Is there 11 out there? Someone else? I'm just joking about it. Trying to make it sound like a bit of an auction. We'll give it really just another 10, 15 seconds to see. So right now, ooh, leadership mindset popped up there. Beautiful. Leadership mindset's now in the leading spot. It's almost like a horse race or something. Leadership mindset, organizational resistance, culture not aligned. This is what we're seeing in our organizations. This is what we're seeing in our organizations right now. Leadership mindset, organizational resistance, culture not aligned, culture change. Leadership understanding and support of Agile. So we're seeing some gaps there. So let's dive in. Before I share what I want to share with you, I'm going to talk about learning versus unlearning. It might be the case that you believe you came here to learn something new. Beautiful. What I'm hoping you take away is not something new, but that you let something go tonight. That you let go of some existing belief that's stopping you from being successful. That's my deepest wish. Because the biggest thing I've discovered all these years is it's not about doing something new. It's about stopping doing the things that we're doing now that are preventing us from being successful. It's stopping us from doing the things that we learned when we were young, in our families we grew up in the school systems, in the workplaces we worked in, and using those behaviors with Agile to make Agile go wrong. So I'm going to say things that may be difficult, that you may not feel comfortable agreeing with. So everyone here is really smart, and I'll share this quote. The test of a first-rate intelligence, which everyone here is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. So I may be sharing something that is controversial, that you may not feel comfortable with. My ask of you is that you simply say, oh, could this be true? I guess it could be true. I believe something different, but this could be true. So this is your challenge and test as we go through this, is just ask yourself, could this be true? And not try to resolve it. That's what our minds try to do. They try to trick us by making us just believe something, whether it's correct or not. There's a lot of psychology around this and neuroscience around this. So this is my challenge for you tonight, is to demonstrate you have a first-rate intelligence by not trying to decide whether what I'm saying is true, but just keep in mind that it could be true. Here we go.
You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. When we look at the industry research, this amazing industry research from version 1 with 50,000 teams, thousands of companies, what do we see the challenges are with Agile? Oh, you guys already caught this. It's about company philosophy and culture at odds with core Agile. Lack of experience with Agile management. Lack of management support. General resistance to change. This is what we see across the industry. And what we see here that's already clear, and you guys have actually sharpened and dug behind what's behind this, is that there's a challenge around leadership. That somehow our leadership is not engaged in a way that will help us lead to success. And that culture is a core problem. Can you imagine what we're doing in our industry? That we're doing Agile in a situation where 45% of management don't support it? Why on earth are we doing initiatives where management do not support it? It doesn't make any sense. If management doesn't support what we're doing, we should stop and perhaps talk to them to find out what it is they do want. Otherwise, we are simply injecting organizational conflict. Well-intentioned, because we are intending good, but when we do things that are not aligned with the organizations we're working with, we inject conflict. So culture is the #1 challenge with Agile, and leadership goes hand in hand with that, and we'll unpack that. Let's review the basics. Agile practices, or doing Agile, is a different thing than the Agile mindset, or being Agile. These are different things. Bob Hartman noticed this and gave this great gift to the community that we can separate and disambiguate these two things. That we see and know the real deep value for Agile doesn't come from doing the practices, it comes from the mindset, the way of being, the team room buzz, That's where the value of Agile comes from. Not from people standing up in a stand-up going, yes, this is what I did yesterday, this is what I'm going to do tomorrow, I have no impediments. Like, that's doing the process. Real Agile teams have an energy, and when they get together for their stand-up, it's about, hey, what's the best plan for the day? How do we get there? How do we delight our customer and do amazing things today? That's what great Agile teams do. They have the mindset. I'm going to point out something very obvious, but not often talked about. That Agile is an amazing, amazing technology and way of being for teams. It is designed for teams. It comes from the space of working with teams. Like the Tower of Babel behind me, it is incomplete when we ask it to support organizations. It is incomplete. It is not designed to help organizations grow and evolve. The ideas it carries, because it's so beautiful, can be extended into how do we help organizations. But there's something missing. We need to take a broader picture and view. I'll point out some obvious facts to support this if you're in doubt. When we look at the most popular form of Agile, Scrum, what's the role for the manager? Oops, there is no role for the manager. It's unspecified. How can we possibly ask organizations to use this when something so basic as this is missing? It's incomplete for organizations. It's very beautiful, and we want to keep Agile for teams and figure out how do we keep the essence of Agile and move that to organizations. And that's what we're going to explore today. Agile organizations, finding our way. What may this look like? And there are a number of ways to find this that may work. I'm going to give you a very clear one that I found. Other people are using this as I teach this to them. They're applying it. They're making this work. It's this. Very simply, in order to invite Agile into our organization, we need to create an organizational and cultural context where Agile can actually work. Instead of introducing Agile and finding their culture and leadership problems, we sort out the culture and leadership so that Agile can just drop in and work. It's kind of doing things in the right order, if we want to call it the right order, rather than the backwards way we do it typically. We put Agile and we find all these problems, we put them on our impediment list. Well, folks, we know what the problems are. We know what's going to come up. Culture, leadership. How do we make Agile work in organizations? So consciously approaching Agile is about, let's do this in a sensible order. We'll start with Agile. We don't start with Agile. We start here, the organizational cultural context. But of course, this is shaped by leaders. They shape the organizational cultural context. And it's our job to help them. So when we look at how we show up, to help the leaders and how they show up, that will create the organizational cultural context where Agile may actually work. And we'll unpack what that looks like. So let's take a look at culture. Is this culture? We have a foosball table, so we've got an amazing culture now. Does anyone see that in their organizations? A little bit of that? Yeah, okay. This is what Edgar Schein says about culture. And this is the story of almost every single Agile transformation or initiative out there. If you do not manage culture, it manages you. And you may not even be aware to the extent that this is happening. This explains why we're seeing those challenges that people raised at the beginning of the challenges we're having with Agile. So the question is, well, what do we do? We need to understand how important culture is. Lou Gerstner, when he was reinventing IBM, said this: I came to see in my time at IBM that culture isn't just one aspect of the game, it is the game. So for organizations that want to be high performance, that want to win, that want to be successful in the world, that want to survive organizationally, the way to win the game of organizational survival is with culture. And we have other business sayings that we know. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Yes. So when we start with something that's even less than strategy, very tactical like process, it's not going to shift culture. That's not how it goes. The tail does not wag the dog. I'm going to show you the Sahota culture model, my culture model, as a way to understand what is actually happening around culture. And with this lens, we can start looking at, what do we need to pay attention to? So I'll explain it this way. Put up your hand if you know who Doctor Who is. Okay. Doctor Who is a Time Lord. He's the most expert person on time. And he explains time like this. Time is this wibbly wobbly thing that connects everything. That's the most expert explanation of time. So similarly, like Doctor Who, as an expert in culture though, I'll say, culture is this wibbly wobbly thing in the middle that connects everything. Follow? So all these different bits on here are all interconnected in very deep and subtle ways. We can't just change one thing without changing other things. Everything's interconnected. These arrows illustrate this. On the bottom, we see structures. On the top, we see consciousness. I'll explain the bottom part, structure, first. This is easier for us to understand. It's the things we can actually point to in the organization. The org structure, the process, the roles, how decisions are made, how people are paid, things like that. This is oftentimes where we focus our energy in an Agile initiative. On the top, we see the people side. Remember the Agile manifesto? The first line is individuals and interactions over process and tools, or people over process. This diagram shows us people over process with a cultural perspective and a whole organizational perspective. And what does the focus on people look like? It's the energy, the feel, the vibe. It's every single person. It's every single person. Their identity, their values, their beliefs, their behaviors. That shapes the culture. It's the organizational purpose, or lack thereof. It's subtle things like, is there safety? Is there trust? Do we actually value people as human beings? Or are they resources? And very importantly is, what are unwritten rules and norms? We have these values on posters in our office. Does our senior leadership follow them in every day, in every act that they do? These unwritten rules and norms shape tremendously the consciousness of our organization. And it's a mistake to think we can just change the structures and the consciousness will change. It doesn't work like that. We actually need to involve the consciousness, our way of being, in order for that to support structures and flow the energy and power to power up the structures. So consciousness leads the way when we talk about shifting organizational culture. So what I'd like you to do now is to discuss in pairs where are the gaps in our Agile initiative. So please stand up. This is a meetup, so you're going to meet new people. So stand up, meet someone new, introduce yourself, and discuss with them where are the gaps in our Agile initiative. Look at what's happening in structures, what's happening in consciousness. 1, 2, 3, go. seats. In terms of the structure, we will be taking questions at the end. So if you have questions, just simply make note of them, and we'll come back to that at the end of the session. So what may we do with culture? The first thing to understand when working with culture, because to make Agile work, we need to work with culture. To create a context where Agile can flourish, we need to create a host culture that's fertile ground for Agile. The first thing to understand is that culture grows locally. When we think of an organization, there's not just one coherent culture. The culture is going to vary as the individuals, different departments are going to have different cultures, different teams may have different cultures, depending on the people. This is normal because culture is based on people, right? How people show up, what's happening around safety, what's happening around trust, and so on. Culture bubbles are the most common way that Agile actually exists in organizations today. And the way it works like this is there's some leader who gets it. There's some leader who understands the Agile mindset, who understands trust, safety, who lets people in the organization make decisions. They get it. And within their part of the hierarchy, they can create this new culture system, this new way of being within the larger organization. This is the most common pattern for how Agile actually flourishes. Sometimes people think about Agile in the organization that we need the whole organization, and the answer is no. You just need some part of it. And what happens though when these culture bubbles form is there's a gap between the culture in the bubble and the culture outside. If there's a very small gap, very naturally, organically, other people in the organization will just start emulating it. They'll just start picking it up and using it, and it'll just happen. This is what happened at Yahoo. This is what happened at Amazon. Just very naturally, because the culture was very progressive, very people-friendly. Things just spread very naturally. There didn't need to be an Agile initiative. There didn't need to be an Agile Center of Excellence. People just saw, oh, this is good, let's use this. And it happened very naturally, very organically. What happens when there's a larger gap in culture? When there's a larger gap in culture, we see that the values and what's important here is different from what's valued out here. And in order to do that, in order to keep this, well, let me tell you how to wreck the bubble first.